conference with Lal Goel, which is brought to you by V4NEWS, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News Gaon Se, Samvad Sarokar News, Bharat Post News, Karu News, Organ Donation India Foundation, Gyan and Indo-Gulf Management Association. Our endeavor is to enlighten you with the current topic, and today's topic is not only current but very relevant. The topic is the magic of social entrepreneurs. But before I will go on the main topic, I would like to inform you that today India is celebrating Indian Army Day. Indian Army Day is celebrated on 15th January every year in India in recognition of Field Marshal K.M. Cariappa's, then a Lieutenant General, taking over as the first Commander-in-Chief of the Indian Army from General Sir Francis Butcher, the last British Commander-in-Chief of India, on 15th January 1949. The day is celebrated in the form of parades and other military shows in the national capital, New Delhi, as well as in all headquarters. Media conference with Lal Goel wishes you all very happy Indian Army Day. Now coming to our main topic, the magic of social entrepreneurs. A social entrepreneur is a person who pursues novel applications that have the potential to solve community-based problems. These individuals are willing to take on the risk and effort to create positive changes in society through their initiatives. Social entrepreneurs may believe that this practice is a way to connect you to your life's purpose, help others find theirs, and make a difference in the world. A social entrepreneur is interested in starting a business for the greater social good and not just the pursuit of profits. Social entrepreneurs may seek to produce environmentally friendly products, serve an underserved community, or focus on philanthropic activities. Social entrepreneurship is a growing trend alongside socially responsible investing, SRI, and environmental, social, and governance, ESG investing. To discuss this very, very important, very relevant topic in the present era, the magic of social entrepreneurs, we have a very elite, knowledgeable, experienced, those who are authority in this particular field. Panelists are with us, and I would like to invite my first panelist guest, and he is Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal. Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal is the former Professor of Marketing, Innovation and Management, IIM Lucknow, XLRI Jamshedpur, and California State University, USA. He is President of Indo-Gulf Management Association. He is US Fulbright Fellow Boston, EFMD Fellow Paris, and British Council Fellow London. In 2019, he was ranked among the 251 most fabulous global education leaders. Welcome, Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal on the show. Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal, as we know that today's topic is very, very relevant, especially in the present time, and because we have seen during the COVID how this social responsibility becomes very, very important. And when we are talking of the magic of social entrepreneurs, definitely it is something which is the time, which is the need of the time today. We would like to know from you the magic of social entrepreneurs. Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal, please.
Thank you, Mr. Goel, for giving such a wonderful introduction and start to all of us. And, I'm very, very honored today that all the four speakers are from UAE, first time on your show. Otherwise, we always used to have a kind of a mix of speakers from our Indian subcontinent and from the UAE. But today we are very honored and privileged that we have all the four from that particular location, which probably, and that's why I'm mentioning that, which probably is now becoming the new hub of social entrepreneurs and social entrepreneurship. At one point of time, UAE was not anywhere in terms of the social entrepreneurship or social entrepreneurs. USA was. It was considered as the nation of givers at that time. And I'm very happy to mention that it may not be of that particular level in terms of amount, because USA is far bigger and the biggest economy of the world. But UAE is not very far behind in terms of the work that they do towards social entrepreneurship. And I'm very, very sure that many of my colleagues here will bring in the context of both UAE as well as the essence of social entrepreneurship. Let me try uh, my rather views on social entrepreneurship and why we call it a magic of social entrepreneurship. Let me get this magic thing out first. If you remember that most of the social projects, most of the community projects which had social wellness in their mind, which had the social good in their heart, which had the soul of being a good person in the society, they all had a major issue. And that major issue or challenge was money, monetary, I would say, engine, monetary energy. They didn't have as much as they could have. And that's why we had several variations of that. And each and every variation varied in terms of both belief as well as intensity in terms of social entrepreneurship. But common factor was that all social entrepreneurships were counting on what they called community response in terms of either donations or charity or many other aspects to keep them going. Even universities were like that. Like, for instance, we all know the history behind the setting up of MIT when two wonderful people went to give money to Harvard, and Harvard wasn't very much, uh, forthcoming in their whatever reason. Some people now call it arrogance, but at that particular time, they did not know who these people were, and so they went to California and started MIT. Sorry, not California. They started Stanford. My apologies. MIT is still, in the same East Coast. So I'm trying to say is that many times we don't realize that sometimes, these kind of things can also backfire. But anyway, what is the magic behind it? If you see the biggest and probably the richest man today on earth, now that person has created a social entrepreneurship, Tesla. If whatever we may say for him, against him, the fact of the matter here is that he started with a social good in his mind, and that good was to rid the world of the fossil fuel, to rid the world from those toxic kind of sources which we were using in our cars, in our and all that. And from that point of view, I would definitely give very, very high marks to Elon Musk, that he did this Tesla with this kind of thing in mind. Money came without doubt. Money was also chased by him without doubt. He enjoyed the money without doubt, but he created the magic of social entrepreneurship in a way that where he became the donor of that particular idea, then perhaps receiving the donation from others. That's the thing I'm trying to say today. That in social entrepreneurship, the goal is to become self-dependent. The goal is to take the risk the same way as any businessman does. And the goal is also the same as in all other social forms of organization, whether it is NGO, whether it is social enterprise, or we call it social purpose enterprise, or many other, things that we used to call them. These are all cognate terms. These are all similar terms, family terms, but essence is still the same, and that is to do something social good. Since we are from India, most of us have that kind of connection with the country. Let me give you one more example of the social purpose organization or social enterprise or the social entrepreneurship, and that is, you and I both know. In fact, I had the honor of meeting him for a very, very long time and interacting with him a very long time, and which was Mr. Kurian. the gentleman who created the white revolution in India in the 70s by creating one of the most fantastic organizations called Amul, where he made India not only self-sufficient about the milk production, milk distribution, milk consumption, but he also put India as the largest producer of milk in the world or dairy products based on them. Now, again, in that particular example, he did not have that kind of mission which probably Elon Musk had in the case of Tesla and others. At that particular time, the magic was in the mission itself. The magic was in the belief itself. The magic was in the way of his intensity in execution was. Today, possibly, the magic which I'm trying to say is that in terms of monetary thing also. In other words, that most of these organizations now have the freedom, flexibility, and I would say, pride that these people are self-sufficient. They do not need the charity, do not need the generosity, do not need the munificence of the moneyed people in order to keep going. So that's why I believe that social entrepreneurship has a magic for us. So what is a social, entrepreneurship? Social entrepreneurship is also an entrepreneurship. It is a variant of entrepreneurship in which in both the cases, risk taking is common. In both the cases, the person who is doing it, that person is bringing a kind of, an innovation, a kind of newness, a kind of new energy, which could also backfire, as I mentioned earlier. And in that backfiring, that person could also lose not necessarily the financial capital, that little capital that he had, but he could also lose social face. So risk is there, but risk is not as monetary as in the case of normal enterprises, commercial enterprises that we see. But risk taking attitude, making it a success, making it sufficient in terms of its own funding, those things are common. Yeah, one more example I will give here of the social entrepreneurship with the way that I'm saying. There is an organization in India called Akshay Patra. Now, this Akshay Patra, as we know, is the kind of soup kitchen or rather free food giving to the people. In all these particular cases, the goal was always how do I keep going? How do I, make sure that the people receive the benefit of the mission that we had? Many of us may know, many of us may not remember that India, the finest institution, or at least among the finest institutions, educational institutions called BHU, it was created by the mission of a person who openly asked for donations and spread his daman to say that give me the donation for this particular purpose. It was a social entrepreneurship, but where he depended upon others in terms of. But today, there are many social institutions in education sector which are self-sufficient because they have used the same model which I have been talking about, business approach to social good. Business approach says that you should have a very clear, strong vision. You should have a very clear, strong mission. You should have a very, very clear strategic objectives, and then you should have a worthy of execution plan. And that particular worthy of execution plan would include team with you, the people around you. The resources are perhaps in the beginning, the people themselves. So therefore, social entrepreneurs also develop a very, very good team around them. They always carry people who are willing to provide. In a way, I would say each and every social entrepreneurship is like a startup. And no startup can succeed if there is no wonderful team behind it who is wedded to the same belief, to the same idea that the proponent of that particular idea is. So leaders and followers in that organization think alike in the same fashion. And that is exactly the social organization we are talking about. So in order to conclude, before I listen to my other wonderful colleagues, that number one, there is always the same kind of mission that we had in NGOs and in other kind of enterprises, the names that were almost similar to this. Of course, those kind of things have different formative differences, but minor differences. The second thing I'm saying is social entrepreneurship became a more viable, more urgent issue in our society because government became less of a government in terms of these issues. Because neither government had the money in all cases, nor the government was very good executor also, even though there was money. So therefore, government started doing different formats, sometimes in the form of supporting the private entrepreneurship in that and provided funding to that thing. Why? Because they believe that way money will be utilized better rather than where the money is spent, controlled, supervised by government itself. So in a way, social entrepreneurship is filling the gap left by the government, especially in this era where government believes that it should limit itself to what is known as governance rather than business doing. The third thing I would like to say here is in social entrepreneurship, there is also risk taking. They also take risk of losing the mission, of losing the face, of losing the faith of the people who have in them. In a way, that particular thing is also as important as financially when we as economic entrepreneurs will lose that. And finally, the thing which I would like to say is that all the principles that are applicable to entrepreneurship are also mutatis mutandis applicable to social entrepreneurship also. In the same way we go about. So our approach is business-like, though we may not be in business. That's the thing I would like to say. I want to thank you, Mr. Goel, for allowing us this opportunity to explore this wonderful concept. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agarwal, for giving your views on this very, very important topic, the magic of social entrepreneurs. Now I would like to invite my next panelist guest, and she is Dr. Richa Arora. Dr. Richa Arora is the CEO and head at University of Stirling, Ras Al Khaimah, UAE. Dr. Richa Arora is the academic leader and chief operating officer responsible for the strategic oversight, financial sustainability, and academic directions of the University of Stirling and SQARAK campus. Earlier, she has been Group CEO and the director of the Regency Business School, South Africa, where she led significant increase in the income, academic digitization, quality and impact of research. She has also been the director of the University of and deputy director of Symbiosis Center for Management Studies. Dr. Richa is a professor of marketing and is a highly regarded researcher and a keynote speaker at international conferences around the world. She is a board member of IODSA, Institute of Directors in South Africa. Welcome, Dr. Richa Arora on our show. Dr. Richa Arora, you have heard what Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agarwal has spoken, and he has given his ideas about the social entrepreneur and about the social entrepreneurships. Now, we would like to know your views on the magic of social entrepreneurs. Dr. Richa Arora, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Goel, for giving us this opportunity and being present today to discuss on a very relevant topic, which is not only for the individuals, but I think these days all the government, the policymakers are talking about it. And the topic is nothing but the entrepreneurship. Whether I say it's a social entrepreneurship or innovative entrepreneurship or any kind of entrepreneurship, it's very, very relevant for the development of economies. So the moment I heard the word entrepreneurship, I feel like it's a mixed blessing. On a positive side, it connotes a special, innate ability to sense and act on opportunity, combining out-of-the-box thinking with the unique brand of determination to create or bring about something new to the world. where entrepreneurs are trying to bring some positive change, provide some new technology to the world so that our life becomes easy. But on a negative side, entrepreneurship is an ex post term because this activities requires a passage of time. And we have witnessed this. People take decades to actually to see the true impact, and usually called us, and all the entrepreneurs, when you speak to them, they say it's a lonely journey which is full of blood, sweat, and tears. So it's a journey which is not easy. It's a journey which is full of loneliness, which is full of blood, sweat, and tears. But now my point is why this journey is like this. So in today's discussion, I understand that it's a social entrepreneurship. I'll try to bring about some points into that, what exactly it is, because I think my earlier panelist has given a wide definition of what the social entrepreneurship is, but I would like to touch upon the process and how collectively we, in terms of government and the education system and the society as a whole, can make an ecosystem which is conducive for the entrepreneurs, whether they are the social entrepreneurs or innovative entrepreneurs or small business entrepreneurs. The journey of an entrepreneur, when we say it, remains the same, whatever field we talk about. And the major difference is seen in the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal, if the goal is to address the social issues and to create the positive impact on the community or in the society or on the world, it's usually called as a social entrepreneurship and very well defined by my earlier colleague. Social entrepreneurship transcends the phenomenon of popularity and fascination with people. So social entrepreneurship signals the imperative to drive social change, and it is that potential payoff with the lasting and transformational benefit to the society instead of high margins of profits. So socialpreneurs are less interested in defining their success through high profit margins, but instead by how their operational benefits can benefit to the community and society as a large. Which takes me to the point which I really wish to emphasize in today's, the forum, which is a very relevant forum for us, is there is any need for the whole system approach for creating successful entrepreneurship ecosystem. Do we really need an ecosystem to develop these kind of entrepreneurs and help these entrepreneurs to develop the nation, because it's considered as the entrepreneurship development, because nowadays, if you see, is considered as the growth and the development force for the countries and their economies. And it's linked with the large number of benefits like economic growth and development, job creation, productivity, the creation of new futuristic technology. And therefore, the need for the ecosystem for entrepreneurship development is highly significant. And many governments across the globe, if you talk about UAE government or you talk about the Indian government, they have realized this particular fact and have taken various initiatives to develop entrepreneurship in the countries, because we know it's the one way to boost your economy. In modern societies, when we talk about today's world, where complexities are increasing day by day, I really wish to know, and it's a kind of a question I'm posing, is it really enough to have old defined traits to be an entrepreneur, where we say entrepreneur is the one who has a risk-taking ability, should be creative, should be independent, should be innovative, should be dynamic, should be flexible. Is it enough to create the successful business venture? Are these traits are enough to create futuristic ventures and the businesses? Or if there is a strong need to provide successful entrepreneurship ecosystem for which we require whole system approach? When I say ecosystem or the entrepreneur ecosystem are essentially the building blocks for stimulating entrepreneurship, which must be adapted And that's what I'm trying to say. This ecosystem must be adapted in all the levels, whether it's school level, the city level, the state level, and the country level, to create a strong environment for fostering entrepreneurship and help ventures by providing local leadership. It's not only enough to be brave. It's not only enough to be having the risk-taking ability. It's not only enough to risk your job, but you need certain extra things. And those extra things is nothing but you require local leadership. You require suitable finance for the businesses. You require the quality of human capital. You require venture-friendly markets. You require the marketing support and the range of institutional and infrastructure support. Do we have that? Are we providing these kind of support to the people? Are we initiating this kind of ecosystem into our country or into our economy? Because we know it has a direct impact on our economies as global economies as a whole. The system I'm talking about is the system which should be supported by the government and must be operated at all levels, starting from the school and moves up to the country level, and the system that can help, support, mentor the students, the individuals, and the businessmen throughout their entrepreneurial journey. Not at once they have established themselves and then people coming up to take over their ventures and thinking of investment. But what about the initial level when I'm starting my business? I really need a support. I need mentors. I need guidance. I need hand-holding. I don't want to go for the lonely journey. At this particular time, I need a model. I need a framework. I need I need a ecosystem where we can develop entrepreneurs together and take them to a venture which is a successful venture. So this requires starting from the idea generation itself, because we being entrepreneurs sometimes don't realize whether it's a future relevant idea or no, or what is the scope of my particular idea. So I require an understanding, or the people who can help me in recognizing and understanding the futuristic, sustainable ideas, and ensure that all my ideas, if they have supported, must be future relevant and should be converted to a profitable business and useful and able to provide useful product and services to the society at large. We need a system which can support the constant support, mentorship, and holding, which required in building the businesses and the ventures, and can provide required support, which I mentioned earlier, and ensure that we don't end up in making the failed businesses or ventures. Rather, our initiative should be that whatever ventures and businesses are now starting, it should be toward the success path, and whatever support is required, it should be at all the levels of the community, with the school, state, city, and country, which I just now spoke. So in a nutshell, what I want to say is entrepreneurship is always seen as a lonely journey. But the time has come when governments, when the policymakers have realized that this is the only thing which can help us in developing our economy. So all the efforts must be made together to inspire and make the entrepreneurs to grow their business by providing a support, by providing a conducive ecosystem, starting from the scratch when we are recognizing the idea itself, until providing the networking support, funding support, microfunding, or marketing, or the target markets. We must make a kind of ecosystem which supports the entrepreneurs, which in turn helping the economy of any of the country. So I just want to say, I proposed this idea to His Highness as well in my meeting, one of my meeting with him, where I said, Dubai is already a business hub. Why can't we have an entrepreneurship hub where all the people across the globe come to UAE, work on the ideas, and we become, or the UAE become the generator or the initiator for another Microsoft, and people working here and taking this idea to the other countries and growing it well. So that kind of system is required where governments are work collectively. Let this not be a lonely journey. Let this be a combined journey with the approach of helping and supporting entrepreneurs in all the direction they are looking for. So I think with this, I would like to, put a point across to the people on the board. Let not be a lonely journey. Let be a journey which is full of togetherness, help, support, with the intention to grow the businesses, or coming out with the futuristic business which is required in the economy after 10 years or 15 years, and make entrepreneurs or businessmen successful in taking this journey ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Richa Arora, for emphasizing about how the government should support the entrepreneurs so that they can contribute, the entrepreneurs can contribute to the society in future and the economy of the country, which is very important for any country or for any society. Thank you very much, Dr. Arora. Now, I would like to invite my next panelist guest, and he is Mr. Muhammad Rehan Syed. Mr. Syed is the Chief Internal Auditor of Al Rajhi Holding Group, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, participating in key management and committees to keep internal audit well informed of key business developments that could have an impact on audit or risk priorities, and established internal audit function across the group. Developed internal audit manual, detailed work programs, and trained auditors to perform internal audit of the group entities. He is a career banker holding such prestigious position as a thorough banker. Muhammad has also served as the Executive Director, Ambu Saidi Finance and Management Advisory, AFMA Assistant Group, GM Corporate Banking Group, and Head of Banking Audit, Bank Saudi Farhan Sai. Welcome, Mr. Muhammad Rehan Syed on our show. Mr. Syed, you have heard our earlier panelist, Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal, as well as Dr. Richa Arora, and both have given their views about the social entrepreneurs, the magic of social entrepreneurs. We would like to know your views on this very, very interesting and very relevant topic, the magic of social entrepreneurs. Mr. Muhammad Rehan Syed, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Goel. Actually, it was a very wonderful introduction that you just gave out about me. And yeah, I've been in, let's say, a career banker, and most of my life worked in banks, and most of my life have dealt with the entrepreneurs and have met various entrepreneurs at various levels. Now, I will start with a situation in my life which I faced when I was working as a consultant in Ambu Saidi Finance and Management Advisory. I was part of a startup incubation board, and I used to review the ideas and the entrepreneurial plans, the startup plans that individuals or group of individuals would put in, seeking some sort of incubation support, actually. And it was in one such meeting I came across two young ladies, actually Saudi ladies. Now that was surprising in two aspects, actually. One was that Saudi ladies, in fact, coming up to an incubation center with a business plan or an entrepreneurial idea, actually. And then why I'm saying it, because usually in Saudi Arabia, women entrepreneurs, if you could largely find out, are mainly doing part of family businesses, actually, which are long established business. And women entrepreneur in Saudi Arabia is a very rare thing so far, as such a startup idea, actually. Now again, the second surprise was, which was more let's say more of a surprise, was that they wanted to venture into a social entrepreneurial idea, actually. Now when having discussed with them the idea that they put in and the plan that they had, actually, what the first thing was, actually, why I just put aside all the relevant questions that being a board member of an incubation center would ask. I asked them first thing, like, what made you believe that you should venture into a social entrepreneurial idea? They said they both of them actually, let me give you that they both of them were graduates from the University of Toronto in Canada. And they said when we were there at the University of Toronto, we were made to do lots of community services, and we were volunteering in lots of social activities actually. And from there we gathered this passion that, okay, yes, we wish to become we wish to venture into entrepreneurship, but we wish to venture into some sort of a social entrepreneurship, which in Saudi Arabia there usually is not developed that to that level first, and secondly that the women actually are not venturing into such sort of a such sort of an area, especially in Saudi Arabia. So we want to break that actually sort of culture, and we want to have this started, and we want to be pioneer in that. Now the idea they brought in was something like they want to address the educational need of expatriates families who could not afford to send their kids to for a formal schooling education, and their idea was to start something like informal schooling by way of some technology assisted learning program. Now, having said that, I realized that day that, okay, when we talk about entrepreneurship, we usually say that it is vision in and action actually, and then some kind of passion or some sort of passion to put this vision into an action. A person has to be visionary and has to have some action plan to convert that vision into action, so that, and the action plan needs some passion to be put in as well. Now, what I realized the other day, that day, is that passion, yes, vision and action are the two important elements, but for social entrepreneurship, passion is the most important ingredient, and how and where to develop this passion is the schooling and the university education. When you're putting your kids through those educational years actually, or academic years, you need to inculcate some sort of a thought process or responsibility within that child, wherein he understand what are the social issues my society is facing right now, and how I can contribute towards addressing them. Now, when we say addressing them, now see, there has been traditional ways of addressing social issues. Now, but since when we have visionaries available on the economic or the business side of the entrepreneurship, why can't we have visionaries addressing our social issues as well? So this is where we need to have some sort of an let's say development process going on, wherein a student is also trained towards opening his eye and thinking about or putting a thought process to a certain social issue that his society or he's facing around. Now, a very let's say a very important message that Ms. Richa Arora passed through was the creating of an ecosystem. You know what? That see the economic activity. See, usually a social and entrepreneur or a social entrepreneurship usually creates some sort of an economic activity, which in turns addresses or tries to address some sort of an or tries to have some sort of a social impact besides actually creating an economic environment. Now, what happens is that it should make an ecosystem work wherein it is addressing its core social one or more of core social issues, besides creating an ecosystem where lots of elements of the societies are involved, and they synergize their effort, and then this gives a society a sense of ownership in addressing that social issue collectively. I will from here go back to an example in Bangladesh. Actually, we all know Mr. Muhammad Yunus, and whenever we talk about social entrepreneurship, The first example that comes into our mind is of Mr. Muhammad Yunus, Professor Muhammad Yunus. Now, he established Grameen Bank, but Grameen Bank was established in early 1980s. What he started in 1970s was at an individual level, loaning village women small amount of money of around 25 or 30 or $35. And those women in village would start some sort of a cottage industry, buy sewing machine, some other sort of a cottage industry, something like that. And then they will earn their income. And then when a woman earns some income, the first thing she has in mind is to spend that income on his kids. Now, spending on kids means giving her kid better food, better, let's say, education opportunities, better health facilities, something like that. And in turn, it also alleviate a family from living in a state of poverty to living in a good, let's say, leading a better life, actually. So in my opinion, when we talk about, let's say, the social entrepreneurship, we need to actually see, we have visionaries addressing social issues exactly in the same way that the economic or the business entrepreneurs are addressing it, actually. So this is how we can have a mix of social and business entrepreneur working together to address the social issues of society. Now, Ms. Arora also mentioned something, about the loneliness. Now, in my opinion, loneliness is being reduced and being alleviated. Now, how it is being done right now is because by the way that what I see actually, and what I've seen in Saudi Arabia specifically, there are lots of public and private partnership instances wherein a social entrepreneur started something, and he or she showed that they can do they can make an impact, they can do something. And when they went towards the public institution, who are actually, let's say, sort of regulators, or sort of, we have two types of funds running in Saudi Arabia. One is the Saudi National Funds, which is again a public regulated entity, and then we have public investment fund, which is also a public government regulated entity. Now they have created a specific window in their funds addressing or entertaining the social entrepreneurial ideas as well. So, and they have also created in Saudi Arabia, they've also created an incubation and an accelerator program that actually specifically entertains the social entrepreneurs and help them grow with their entrepreneurial ideas. So yes, the loneliness may be there at times, but the best way to deal with it is the public-private partnership, and the ideas needs to be incubated, accelerated to achieve the best possible results out of it, actually. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mohammad Rehan Said, for giving your views about the social entrepreneurs and the magic of the social entrepreneurs. Now I would like to invite my next panelist guest, and he is Mr. Maris Goblar. Mr. Maris is corporate strategist and freelancer at Ras Al Khaimah, UAE. Mr. Maris is a seasoned award-winning international IT project manager with more than 25 years hands-on experience in a wide range of disciplines, from ITSM and software deployment to infrastructure installation. He has managed projects locally at UAE and internationally. He is trained in ethics and emotional intelligence. Added to the above, he has studied international project management through Rochester Institute of Technology. His keen interest in languages has led him to become proficient in French and has recently started learning Russian. He authored a book chapter on deploying artificial intelligence AI to support law enforcement agencies in crime scene analysis and management. Welcome, Mr. Maris, on our show. Mr. Maris, you have heard Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal, Dr. Richa Arora, as well as Mr. Muhammad Rehan Syed. And they have given their views on this very, very relevant topic, the magic of social entrepreneurs. Now, we would like to know your views on the magic of social entrepreneurs. Mr. Maris Goblar, please.
Good morning, and thank you for the introduction. As our learned colleagues already mentioned, the definition and what social entrepreneurship is all about, I will not elaborate on that again, but just for the sake of mentioning some examples of this coming from many, many years ago, where we can look at Florence Nightingale, where she revolutionized nursing when she used donations from the British government in the 1860s to start a training school for nurses. And she was also instrumental in controlling a cholera outbreak at the hospital when she learned that patients died from communicable diseases like cholera and typhoid and not from their wounds. She mobilized the hospital, implemented some hygienic standards, and I think that those things are still relevant today, as we know. Then also just to mention another example that relates to social entrepreneurship from the American Express credit card, where they started a restoration fund for every new account that was opened and every purchase that was made. They donated to that fund, and their sales increased by 45%, and they raised 1.7 million in 4 months' time for this fund, and this was in 1980. Then also in Africa, there was a fund started called the One Acre Fund, which supplies smallholder farmers with financing and training, where they grow more food and earn more money. So instead of giving them handouts, they got the knowledge to generate an income in their farming. And today they serve more than 800,000 farmers annually, which I think is quite a remarkable achievement for that part of the world. So let's look at why social entrepreneurship matters. It has been elaborated on what it is, but let's look at why it matters. Social entrepreneurs normally venture into industries that is unexplored by traditional capitalism, and they reshape the way that we think, live, and consume. And also they improve people's lives by spearheading essential projects that initially don't have a profit motive, even though later initiatives can bear economic fruit. They also draw attention to pressing problems by highlighting issues that other people might overlook, for example, in your neighborhood. They also create economic value by creating jobs and generating income by causing economic renewal in a region or a country where they live and operate. They also act as a catalyst for social change. And as our colleague, Mr. Mohammed, already mentioned, the Grameen Bank from Bangladesh, who promoted microfinance and as a result lifted millions of underprivileged customers out of poverty by funding local projects at low interest rates. Social entrepreneurs also generate social value, which relates to the general improvement that you can see in a society, for example, in sustainable environmental practices, and they also reduce health hazards. Another benefit that they have, they inspire others. If you look at the things that Bill Gates has achieved in the past, but besides that, there are many lesser known social entrepreneurs that are out there making a huge impact in everyday communities where they live and work. Also, they can influence government policy by spearheading fundamental changes, whether in public health, environmental awareness, occupational safety, and education. And one example of this is in the healthcare environment, where they deployed hospital ships where this was not accessible to people in the past. Also influence corporate social responsibility, which has gained momentum in the business world recently, and to ensure that companies do not use CSR as a public relations ploy. And because of that, a non-profit organization called B Lab was established during 2006, which ensures that businesses comply with social and environmental criteria, emphasizing things like financial transparency and fair trade certification, which are things that can easily be abused. Then lastly, why they matter is they can save lives. And this is a very noteworthy impact that they have on society. So one example that I would like to mention here is Mari Chen, who developed the Embrace Warmer, a device that keeps low birth weight babies warm, even during power outages in hospitals and clinics. This device looks like a miniature sleeping bag and provides heat for up to 6 hours on a single 30-minute charge, and it only costs $25. And I think I read that to date they have saved about 325,000 lives. So now that we see why social entrepreneurship matters, let's look at the roadmap to get this established in your own life. First of all, you need to write a mission statement, and you need to decide who you want to serve, where you want to serve, and how you want to serve. And you need to be clear about the problem that you would like to solve for the demographic through your service or product that you have on offer. Which talents and professional skills can you apply to this venture? You need to ask yourself, what will I do? How will I do it? And whom am I doing it for? And what value will I provide to this? You need to then do your research. You need to learn about the social business landscape where you want to work in and see where the players are and how are they changing the world. Don't reinvent the wheel. If someone's already doing exactly what you are doing, use that inspiration to create your own distinct offering. You also need to conceptualize your unique offering. How can you offer something that's different to what is already out there? Think about ways in which you can add value to efforts and collaborate with other people. Once you've done this, reach out to team members, family members for feedback and support. Not necessarily someone that will work with you, but someone who will be a supporter of what you are trying to accomplish through your venture, and people that are already part of your life. And even you can consult the competition, because they can always add something that you don't think of. You need to present your mission statement to them and see what they think about it. Maybe they can realize or show you some flaws that you might not have thought about. Once you've done this, you need to develop your business model, which will be a roadmap for how you will generate income. How far do you want your product or service to reach in the neighborhood or environment that you operate in? You need to decide exactly how much money you would need for this enterprise in order to support your mission, to pay for yourself and for those you might want to hire. Also, an example that I would like to mention here is Tom's Shoes that started many years ago. Their motto was, for every pair of shoes that you buy, they will donate one pair of shoes to the less fortunate. Once you've done this, you need to identify your initial funding sources. You need to do your homework to find out what sources of income will there be. How will you get funding? Will you finance yourself? Will you get a business loan? Will you get friends or family investors or venture capitalists to fund you? And also another option is crowdfunding, but which has its drawbacks, as it might only produce a small amount of funding due to demographics. But you need to be cautious of the type of investor that you get on board. You don't need to get someone on board just for making money. They need to share in your passion as well. And then lastly, you need an action plan. Not a business plan, but an action, a specific to-do list, action items that you need to commit to and by when. You need to commit yourself to exact dates, for example, when you want to launch your social venture, how long it will take you to get there. And this is your master to-do list. It's your schedule and your calendar, and you need to stick to it if you want to make a difference. So having mentioned all this, what do we do with this knowledge? We need to apply it. So the question is, what will you do this year to alleviate poverty, unemployment, or a social issue in your environment? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Maris Gobler, for giving your views about this so very, very important social entrepreneurs, the magic of social entrepreneurs. Now, my question goes to Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal. Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal, are you there? Yeah. Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal, you mentioned about the social entrepreneurs and social entrepreneurship. Now, if I will put, and you have mentioned about the Tesla. Now, if we will see the Tesla, the project was to create the electric vehicles, and in turn it became that it was a to become a social, you can say, entrepreneurship because of the environment. But if we will see that all entrepreneurs, what they are doing is a social service, like Walmart, like we'll take the example of Amazon today. In this, during the COVID time also, we have seen how Amazon services reach to the people who wanted the food or many things at their home. So don't you think every entrepreneur or any entrepreneurship is a social service? So there is no difference between a social enterprise and an enterprise, because if he's a manufacturer of clothes, he is also doing a service to a society. If he's a corporate hospital or a corporate university or education institution, they are also doing. So my question to you is, what is the difference between a social entrepreneur and a entrepreneur?
Okay. I think you have raised a very meaningful and probably most common confusion that people may have. Let me give you first an analogy of something else and then come back here. We say that everything is customer service because we are serving the customers. But there is a difference between serving the customers and customer service. Customer service does not have a price tag on it. Serving the customer is an attitude as well as a mission. The same analogy can be used here also in your question, that each and every business is serving the society. That doesn't mean it becomes a social entrepreneurship. There is a very clear purpose behind it, mission behind it. And that mission behind it is that addressing some social issue. Clothes, food by Walmart, or electronic delivery by that, they're all making everything, to that extent society better, but they are not addressing the social problem directly, clearly, and with that particular thing in mind. So for instance, from that matter, even the top very, very expensive universities are also doing social service because they are doing education. But if they are leaving children behind because of what they are doing, then how can they be called social enterprise or social entrepreneurship? So therefore, the very clear difference is a social entrepreneurship is one which begins with a social problem to solve, and then thereafter uses the business approach to make it a success. That is how the Tesla became. Suppose tomorrow Tesla wouldn't have been so successful and Elon Musk was not so rich, then we would have happily talked about it the same way as we have talked about microcredit movement by Muhammad Yunus. So therefore, just because it has become successful, it has become rich, doesn't make it less of a social enterprise. The same way that just because an enterprise is not profitable, but it is socially driven, like Lijjat. Lijjat has been and still is a social purpose organization, even though it is making papad or variety of other things, because there was a social purpose with which it began. So I hope this confusion is clarified. Sir, you are on mute.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal. Today, the network is giving lots of problems. Now, my question goes to Dr. Richa Arora. Dr. Richa Arora, Professor Mohanlal Agrawal has clarified between the social entrepreneur and the entrepreneur. Now, my question to you is, then what is the difference between an NGO and a social enterprise?
Okay, so NGO, it's a non-government organization when we say, and the basic purpose of an NGO is not profit making at all. When we say NGO, we make a trust, and that trust, we have to take up some social cause, and without the objective of having a profit margins, or without having the objective of making equity or the profit margin, NGO works. But when we talk about social enterprise, we are not saying that it's an NGO. We are not saying that it's it's non-profit, or we will not work for profit. It can be for profit making, it can be for non-profit, it can be hybrid also. But the intention behind social entrepreneurship is a social cause, where people are working towards some social cause, making the life of the people, making the life, or maybe the culture or the environment as a whole, conducive to the human mankind, or to the society, or as a country as a whole. The purpose can be profit, non-profit, or hybrid. But when we say NGO, the objective, the ultimate goal cannot be profit making. This is a very thin line difference between the NGO and a social enterprise. And I think, people can mention more about it, but according to me, this is the thin line difference between the two.
Okay, so according to you, if a social enterprise is not making profit, so we can term it as an NGO?
We cannot turn. So it's all about, when you're starting an organization, what is your objective? So I'm starting an organization with the objective of making an NGO or a trust. That's the NGO. But when I'm saying social enterprise, I'm not making a profit. That's a different thing. That's a story, or that's a journey of an entrepreneur. I may make profit, I may not make profit, I may take funding, I may take loan from the government, I may go for the microfinancing, anything I can go for. But it cannot be termed as NGO, because my objective of setting up a business was different. I never called myself an NGO. My goal, ultimate objective was different.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Richa Arora. Now my question goes to Mr. Mohammed. Mr. Mohammed, how do you measure that what social impact you have made, or in other words, how you can say yourself, gauge yourself, or being an entrepreneur, that you are a social entrepreneur?
Actually, it's a very, very relevant question, actually, and I will answer it by my experience. Again, I'll go back to my experience with that incubation center. Now, whenever you review a business plan, you review it and you try to come up with the KPIs, actually. What are the key performance indicator at certain point in time that you would wish to review when you will decide about that the plan or the entrepreneurial idea is going as what has been envisioned, actually. So similarly, as like for a business entrepreneur, you define a KPI. We define a KPI for a social entrepreneur as well, and so, or a social entrepreneurship idea as well. So what happens is, let's say if somebody wishes to venture into a social entrepreneurial idea where the motivation or the mission is to help raise child education, or help putting children into school. So what are the KPIs that we need to develop? Where we are right now? Which population are we going to address? How many number of kids will we reach out to? What is our plan, let's say in year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, and year 5, something like that. Now, how the funds will be arranged, how it will be. So similarly, like we need to have some sort of a measurement process, performance measurement process going on, just to assess that the objectives are met and the impact that entrepreneurial idea, the social entrepreneurial idea that was planned is actually making that impact that we envisioned at the beginning. So development of KPIs is the key part, and then measurement and monitoring those KPIs is the next part actually. And if we see there's a gap, and if we see there's a deviation from the plan and the actual, between the plan and the actual, then what type of actions need to be taken so that these gaps or the deviations are alleviated, and we reach to the planned level.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mohammed. Now my question goes to Mr. Maris. Mr. Maris.
Can I join him a little bit on that note, because it was a very important question you had asked.
Okay. Yeah, please go ahead, Professor.
Yeah. As he mentioned about KPI, in order to measure the effectiveness, there is what is known as a MIA framework, mission and impact analysis. Mission and impact analysis, because KPI is mostly the commercial term and the business term. So we do not use that in social entrepreneurship. We use MIA as a framework, mission and impact analysis. And in that, we identify various indicators to reach that particular point, that whether we have made any difference or not. Sorry, Mr. Mohammed Rehan, I just wanted to add that point.
So that's a very valuable addition actually, and yes, you're right. This is something that is also side by side we use for the social entrepreneurial ideas. Yes, you're right.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Mohammed, and thank you, Professor Agarwal. Now my question goes to Mr. Maris. Mr. Maris, we are talking about the social entrepreneurs. Now, if anyone wants to start with keeping in mind in the social entrepreneurship, will venture capitalists or the financial institutions would like to finance or invest in that or not? If not, then what are the remedies, or what are the available source for the funding of that type of social entrepreneurs?
I think it depends on the country in which you want to operate. And I think also your passion and the product or service that you have on offer. Because if it's a viable offer that you have and people can see the benefit of it, they will buy into that. If you do not get sufficient funding from investors, you can always approach maybe government organization, or you can approach a bank and present this your business plan to them. But like I said, you need to have a proper business plan where you detail everything that you want to achieve. And I think once an organization, a bank, or an investor sees that benefit that will be realized from that, and in the long term, the financial gains that they can realize from that, surely they will buy into your proposition.
Okay, thank you, Professor Agarwal. Would you like to add something in this?
If it is okay with you, can I ask a little bit question from everyone here? Mr. Goel, do I have your permission?
First, I just want to clarify this position, because many have this thing in my idea that if I am a social entrepreneur, I want to do service to the society, how to raise the funds? Because venture capitalists are not ready to finance any venture where they feel that this is not a proper business module. And similarly for the financial institutions or the banks. So I would like to be clear that how we can raise the funds. You have given the example of Amul and Akshay Patra. Now, Akshay Patra, as we know that it was run by the ISKCON. Now, ISKCON, when they have run it, it's basically the religious point of view. People used to donate the money, and that's what they started taking that. And then from afterwards, they got the government funding. But in other words, in Amul, it was a cooperative society. It was when we are talking of a entrepreneurship, a business model, how we can get the funds for that so that the magic can come. That was my question.
Sure, that particular question is very relevant, and I will just add to what Marius very clearly mentioned. There are several foundations private foundations, public foundations, government foundations, which will provide the initial or at some point operational or even at some point stopgap credit to such people in order to keep them going, provided these people can provide what I have mentioned a few minutes ago, MIA, mission and impact analysis, or mission and impact assessment. The moment when they give this, any of these organizations are obliged many times and are willing often to provide that kind of assessment. Even corporate social responsibility funds are also available to them, which can be used by these organizations. Like, Mr. Mohammad Riham's organization is a very big organization, and they have some kind of funds earmarked for CSR activities. Those particular activities can also include funding a social entrepreneurship which is having an objective similar to what donor organization wants to have. So there is a synergy between them, or it is an important cause. So those kind of fundings are available. This is the point which I'm trying to make.
Okay, Professor Agarwal, thank you.
But let me clarify. Let me clarify one thing that you mentioned about Akshay Patra and ISKCON connection. In the case of Akshay Patra, it was not a religious thing. It was based on the soup kitchen idea which I mentioned. And then what they did, because they were tired of getting this kind of charity or reaching out to the people, they actually created a commercial front around it. And that commercial fund entity provided funding to the central mission of Akshay Patra. I'm very, very clear about it, because this Akshay Patra case was presented before me for the purpose of review and for the purpose of strategic formulation. So with all due humility, I would like to mention that part.
But Professor Agarwal, it was associated with ISKCON, as I was knowing this, because I donated some money and the receipt came from the ISKCON only to me, because they are having the 80G or other certificates. Okay, thank you very much. Yes.
Just wish to add a few lines to what Mr. Agarwal said actually regarding the funding. Now, again, going back to my specific experience in Saudi Arabia, now for the social and entrepreneurship, there are usually three types of funding available, or there are three types of, let's say, financials or financings available usually. Number one are the grants, actually, the government or the public sector grants, or in fact, it is international donors as well that actually channelize grants, but they are also channelized through the public sector companies or the public sector regulatory bodies. Now, the other one is the funding by the sponsors itself. Now, usually what happens is that, okay, sometimes the sponsors themselves, they are well off enough to fund the initial equity, and they bring in the money into the equity part of it to start a source of social entrepreneurship, so that it stands. And then the OPEX part of it is controlled through the economic activity that that entrepreneurial organization actually generates. So that's the second part. The third part is as Mr. Agarwal said, the various organizations which are into CSR or into charities actually. Now, Islamic banking is the mode of banking usually in Saudi Arabia, and in Islamic banking there's a big chunk of charity allocation. So at least in Saudi Arabia, that charity allocation is also channelized. It was usually being channelized earlier through NGOs. Now they have changed the model of funding, and they are now trying to channelize it through the social entrepreneurs actually, mostly. So just wanted to add.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Mohammed. Now, now last round I am entering. Professor Richa Arora, Dr. Richa Arora, what advice would you like to give to the youth about this social enterprise, if any youth would like, because right now the youth is looking out what to do in future because of the COVID and otherwise also. So if anyone wants to enter in the social entrepreneur, what advice would like to give to the youth?
Lovely. Thank you very much. And this is a question which is very near to my heart, because this is what I really want to talk about to the generation, the millennials or the zennials which are coming out. So first thing which I want to tell them is, don't fear. I understand the moment we think of entrepreneurship, the word entrepreneur, we start getting goosebumps. But we should not have any fear in terms of entering into any kind of entrepreneurship, innovative entrepreneurship or social entrepreneurship. Always think, and whenever you're starting, please start with the objective. Most of the people start working. I have seen students start working on the projects, but they even don't know what exactly the objective of doing it. What is the objective, why they are doing it, how they must do it, and what all support do they require. So this is something which is a framework to start into any of the project. And especially when you're starting about the social entrepreneurship, you should know the objective, which part of, what part of target audience or what part of society you are going to touch, and what all support do you need. You must ask for it. And the second point is, whenever you need help, ask for help. There are no kind of organization right now, it's not in a structured form. That's why I was putting an emphasis on preparing an infrastructure or preparing an ecosystem. Right now, that conducive ecosystem or the structured ecosystem is not available to the students or to the budding entrepreneurs. That is not there into any of the country. But there are a lot of mentors, lot of guidance, lot of support is available. So don't think that you have to do it alone. No, this is a social cause, and whenever you're doing some good cause, lot of people want to join you. So start building your team or the human capital, because we cannot do everything alone. I cannot think of doing our children from style idea generation to funding to angel investing to even understanding the concept of bootstrapping and making business plan and going out to get the funding. That's humanly impossible. So accept that fact that we are not supercomputers. We are living in AI world. We are living in the world or the era of Alexa and all, but we are not supercomputers. We are human beings, and we should start working with the help of people. Ask for help. Prepare your goal, ask for help, understand your objectives, and then work towards your goal. So these are the basic, structure. These are the basic advices which I really want to give to the students or the budding entrepreneurs. Don't have fear. Work on your objectives. State your objectives clearly. Make your SMART objectives and ask for help. Seek help and take the guidance of your mentors and the guides, because they are the one who can really help you to reach out to your objective fast. Because at this particular age, they might don't know that is it a futuristic idea or no. So it's very important. I'm not talking about only the investment of money. Even time is an investment. Efforts in an investment. And most important thing, the kind of disappointment students or the budding entrepreneurs get when they enter into the failure venture, that's really disheartening, because it takes courage to stand up again. So to avoid all these things, seek out help, make a structured plan, don't fear. And even if you fail, that's okay. We have all the rights to fail.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Richa Arora. Now the same goes to Mr. Mohammad Rehan. What advice would like to give to the youth for this social entrepreneurs?
Actually, it's for both youths and people who are working around those youth, their parents and their teachers who are into the development and actually the capacity building of that youth. The advice is to, as Ms. Richa Arora said, that we need to create an ecosystem. The ecosystem should start from the fact that we should develop sort of an ecosystem which encourages youth to take up the social activities, take up the voluntary activities, take up the community services activities, which in turn will inculcate in them some sort of realization, some sort of sense of owning society's problem, and with the help of education that they go through will create a vision among them to address those issues and problems in a more visionary manner, and creating a sort of self-sustainable ecosystem wherein the finances and the other economic activity usually becomes the more important or the more reliable funding element for them. So this is the advice that I have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rehan. Now my question goes same to Mr. Maris Goblar. Your advice to the youth.
I think I can just emphasize what has already been mentioned, is that once you have that passion, just go for it. Share your passion with your peers, take it to your parents, to friends, and get their input and get their support as well. And because a lot of times, like it was said, you get an idea and the fear is there. You do not want to pursue that idea, and maybe it's a lost opportunity. So get as many people around you that can support you and take that idea forward, and be strong. Just do it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Maris. Now my last to Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal. What advice you'd like to give to the youth?
I would like to give two pieces of advice, one to the youth and the second to the college-going youth, because we can make both the differences. You know, sometimes the college-going youth can make a major, meaningful difference in their life as well as the life of others if they take up what I call social field projects. Right now, they are taking academic projects, research relating to academics. They can also take up some social issues and then research them. And I believe very, very strongly that schools, business schools, and even heads like Richa can very, very clearly, openly support such kind of projects, even if they mean replacing the academic projects that they had, because they are receiving academic activities anyway. So why not? That is why in my previous life as president of the university, I had made social entrepreneurship mandatory. I had said that each and every student will have to go through 3 weeks to 4 weeks or 2 weeks to 4 weeks social entrepreneurship internship. That will also give them an idea. And for other youth, the other people, is exactly what I think Mohammed Rehan and Marius very correctly were saying, that we need to encourage them, support them, and participate in them. Not just as like a sage on the stage. We should be a fellow traveler with them. When it is in the family or in our neighborhood, we should become part of that particular project. That will be the greatest encouragement.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So viewers, you have seen today that we were discussing about the social entrepreneur, the magic of the social entrepreneurs. And we found that this is where the entrepreneurs or those who wants to do something consider very, very seriously, because after all, the society belongs to us. The environment belongs to us, the nature belongs to us. If we will not give back to them, if we will not do something, how we are going to sustain and what we are going to give to the next generation. Basically, what we are doing today, we are responsible for the next generation. And as our panelist has mentioned, and especially Professor Agrawal has mentioned, that the universities or the colleges should give more emphasis on the research on the social enterprises, because if inculcate the meanings of what is the social responsibilities every individual should have. And in case if we will do that, definitely our society, our country, or our global or universe will become a very, very good place to stay. And for our future generation also, we are going to leave a legacy where they will be proud to say that something has been done by our forefathers for us, for means the future generation will say, which is really good. And this is only possible if we will do the social entrepreneurship. And that's the magic of the social enterprise. Thank you very much. Today's program has been live telecasted by V4 News, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News Gaon Se, Samvad Sarocar News, Bharat Post News, Karu News, as well as was shown live on Facebook and YouTube. And in our endeavor to bring to you
Indo-Gulf Management.
Oh, sorry. Yes, Indo-Gulf Management also. No, it's a live telecast. That's why I have not given your name. I have not given the name of it. Organ donation also. So, for bring to you every day a new topic in our media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. Tomorrow, our topic is hate speeches, impact on youth. Yes, you heard correctly. We have seen recently so many hate speeches are coming from both the communities, but what we are giving to the youth, impact on youth, and our panelists are Advocate Shashank Dev Sudhi, Supreme Court, New Delhi, Ms. Shraddha Murarka, Consulting Psychologist, Gandhidham, Kutch, Gujarat, Advocate Gagan Gandhi, Managing Partner, Niti Nyay Law Office, New Delhi, and Advocate Avishi Dhaka, Supreme Court, New Delhi. So please tune in tomorrow for media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal. Thank you very much, Dr. Richa Arora. Thank you very much, Mr. Mohammad Rehan. And thank you, Mr. Mares, to join and enlighten the viewers about the magic of social entrepreneurs. And I'm sure all our viewers are very much enlightened today, and especially the youth who are watching our show. They can understand what is the advantage of social entrepreneurship with lots of scope, and not only the monetary scope, but also the ethical or emotional scope is there. Thank you very much. Thank you all the viewers for watching our show. Thank you very much.